Hey folks, nothing lifts my spirits quite like winter in the Midwest. As you can see, it's noon. So this makes for a perfect opportunity to cozy up inside and do the same damn thing I always do.
The end is in sight, fellas. We last left off with a mission to conquer the final gym and challenge the Pokemon League, and the first stop on our way is the Great Marsh, where I catch a Tropius and name it Bananarama. This is a surprise tool that'll help us later. Next up is a merry jaunt through Route 222. This is an enjoyable route because it's fairly simple and straightforward, and I think that provides a sense of relief and relaxation after all the big boy story stuff that just went down. The downside of it being so simple and straightforward is that's all I have to say about it. On to Sunyshore City. When we first arrive, we have a brief encounter with Flint, one of the Elite Four, who tells us that the city's gym leader Volkner is bored as hell because everyone sucks at battling, and so therefore it's up to me to be a worthy opponent who will make him enjoy battling again. I think this is a neat little setup. It's totally superfluous, but it's good to portray the major characters of the game as characters rather than just another totally nondescript empty shell that you battle once and never see again. It just adds a tiny bit more depth to Volkner and Flint as characters, which is helpful for building the game's world and making the characters a bit more memorable, especially in Flint's case because Elite Four in particular tend to suffer heavily from a lack of identity and character development. Sunyshore City as a whole is a fun little place. It's got cheery, upbeat music, and the futuristic solar panel walkways and the ocean water surrounding everything makes for an interesting and unique aesthetic. There's a lighthouse here which you have to visit in order to see Volkner, where he gives you the same spiel that you already heard and then leaves to go back to the gym. You can also look through the binoculars to see the Pokemon League, which is a pretty cool detail. Interestingly enough, here you can also meet Jasmine, who is a gym leader in the Johto games, and like Volkner is from a seaside city with a lighthouse that you have to meet her in order to actually battle her. It's a neat little cameo appearance, and some have argued that it was actually a hint at Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes of the Gen 2 Johto games that would release just 1 year after Platinum. There's actually quite a few references to Johto in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, which many people took to be hints at a remake back then. Whether they were actually intended to be hints is of course debatable, but it's certainly possible given that remakes did indeed happen, and either way, it's interesting to think about. Sunyshore City is also home to a seal shop, which is nice because the ball capsule feature is really fun and a nice way to personalize your experience with the game. My only problem with it, why here? Why would you put this in literally one of the last places you visit during your adventure? I would think that it'd be better to provide more options earlier on so that players can customize and change up their ball capsule compositions throughout the game. But doing it literally at the 8th gym? Sure, I'd rather have it than not, but it's like, wow, thanks for giving me all these options to personalize my experience for the final 8th of the game after making me spend most of the game without them. It just makes the seals lose some of their value, which is a damn shame because they're such a fun and unique aspect of the game that I would have loved to indulge in more throughout the adventure. Well, at the very least, I'll be able to appreciate my ball capsules now because it's time to take on the 8th and final gym. This is an electric type gym where you have to walk around on these rotating platforms to navigate your way to the end. The battles here were a little lackluster because I just had Gibby spam Earthquake over and over without much trouble, but the gym puzzle itself was pretty fun, definitely up there as one of the better gym puzzles in this game. Honestly, I'd say this game overall really delivers on the gym puzzles. Platinum Selection just in general is one of the better sets of gym puzzles in the series. There are some that I think could be a little better, and of course Orberg Gym, like come on, that doesn't even count. But there weren't any that I actually disliked, and there are some really legitimately fun ones here, like this one in Sunyshore. Anyway, it's time for the last gym battle of the game. Ultimately, it's a little underwhelming because Gibby, being a ground type with Earthquake, is just too good for any of these electric types to pose much of a threat. Okay, the Jolteon got a lucky crit with Iron Tail, but that's fine, I'll just revive him, no problem. Okay, the Luxray knows Ice Fang. Well, it wasn't a complete walk in the park, but it ultimately wasn't anything too crazy, so at long last, I'm able to get the Beacon Badge, the 8th and final gym badge of the game, which means I'm finally qualified to take on the Pokemon League. Right on the shore, I have a conversation with my rival where he says he's gonna catch up to me and beat me in no time, and Jasmine, so enchanted by our friendship, gives me the final HM of this game. Waterfall, aka another useless ass move that I have to waste one of Pingu's move slots on. And then it's time for another water route. Delightful. Route 223 is definitely up there on my stupid ass route list. There's nothing like super egregious about it, it's just another generic water route where I have to use the same damn Pokemon and spam the same damn moves over and over. I also find it annoying how damn wide it is because it means I constantly have to zigzag back and forth to make sure that I can see and explore everything. It's just really forgettable and unfun to play through. But at the end of the route, you get to scale this waterfall, and if you forget that you had to waste a move slot on it, it's kinda neat because 1, it looks cool, and 2, I think waterfalls make for a nice visual symbol of progress and triumph. This little area is technically part of the Pokemon League, but its main purpose is just to have a Pokemon Center so that you can easily fly to and from Victory Road and be able to enter it with a freshly healed party. It's quite helpful because if I had to constantly go through Route 223 to get back to Victory Road, I just don't know if I could handle that mentally. Well, at long last, it's finally time for us to take on Victory Road. The Victory Road is a staple of pretty much every Pokemon game, serving as one final test of your abilities in the lead up to the Pokemon League. It's kind of like the ultimate route. You have to fight your way through a bunch of strong trainers and wild Pokemon on a long, winding path. The Victory Road in Platinum in particular is a lot of fun, having plenty of strong trainers with a wide variety of Pokemon, a unique and challenging layout, and plenty of opportunities for exploration off the beaten path. It's also here that, after all this time, Gibby finally reaches level 48 and evolves into Garchomp. This marks the final evolution of the game, and I think having it happen here contributes to the feeling of, oh man, we're really at the end of the road now. Getting your final fully evolved Pokemon is really satisfying, but there's also something kind of bittersweet about it because there's just one less thing that you have to work towards. After this point, your team becomes pretty static, not only in what Pokemon are on it, but also most of the time your Pokemon's movesets are final or close to final. It just takes away a bit of that freshness and variety from the experience because your team isn't dynamic anymore. It's gonna stay pretty much the exact way that it is for the rest of the time that you play the game. That being said, it's still fun to finally have your team be complete and toughened up, and I mean, it's sort of inevitable anyway. It's bound to happen at some point in the adventure. Also, remember when I said I liked Victory Road in this game? Well, as it turns out, it requires you to have the Rock Smash HM to complete it. Remember that, Tropius? Yeah, I decided to just swap out Flowey for Bananarama for the duration of Victory Road because I will do a lot of things, but I will be damned if I have to teach a main member of my party fucking Rock Smash. Well, besides that issue, Victory Road is still generally pretty fun, and before we know it, we make it to the other side and scale yet another waterfall to finally reach the Pokemon League. It's really an amazing feeling to finally reach the Pokemon League in each game because now you know you're really at the end. And the Sinnoh Pokemon League is really cool. Despite it being the lead up to the finale of the game, it has such a peaceful atmosphere. It has a really calming and serene music track that brings on a sense of reflection, like just pausing to take it all in and be like, wow, after all this time, I'm finally here, look how far I've come. I know I've touched on this idea before, but the Pokemon League's atmosphere of peaceful reflection fits this part of the game well and serves to make the location more memorable and emotionally resonant. And even though it has this atmosphere of peace and serenity, the Pokemon League still looks the part as being the big final challenge of the game. The waterfall and the statues and the castle-esque structure make for a really cool aesthetic and give it a sort of epic feeling. And hey, you see that cliff? Wouldn't it be funny if I hung something off it?
Yes, there remains just one final challenge to complete, one final hurdle before we finish the adventure, and you know what that means? Prepare your asses.